Some stories break you, some heal you. But here at my 90s love story, we're here to fill your heart. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the story. The day I walked barefoot into the city, I had already made the news. The Harmon family's adopted daughter, kidnapped months ago, had come stumbling home in filthy rags, barefoot and reeking, her body covered in wounds, slinking back like a stray dog. I watched the camera flashes stutter in front of my face. The reporters were fighting for every second, every frame. But my heart had long since gone as still as dead water, and not a single ripple stirred in it. The girl I used to be, the beautiful, innocent, proud, high-spirited girl, was gone. The kidnappers had finished her off, and so had Grayson Harmon. Soon, a wall of bodyguards in black cut a path through the crush of people. The man leading them was named Caleb Brooks. I knew him. Through all 7 years, I had spent clinging to Grayson. Caleb was the one who had walked me out of Grayson's office and out of his private apartment. They called it escorting me. Really, it was hauling me out by force, because I would not let go, and because Grayson could not stand the sight of me. "President Harmon is waiting for you in the car. Please come with me." When Caleb's eyes dropped to me, he went still for a moment. He clearly had not expected me to end up like this. I nodded and walked on, and every wounded step left a smeared print of blood on the pavement. The nerves in my feet had gone numb from the pain anyway. This short stretch was nothing next to the road I had run to escape. Behind me, Caleb could not help himself. "Miss Ashby?" I did not answer him. Did he pity me? If anything, he should have counted himself lucky. After a lesson like this, I would never cling to Grayson again, and never make more trouble for his work. I climbed into the car and found Grayson sitting there with his eyes closed, resting. His black hair was neat, his features clean and flawless. That figured. In the time I had been gone, he must have felt a peace and ease he had never known before, his whole self so much better off. Hearing the sound, Grayson slowly opened his eyes. When he saw me, he almost did not recognize me. "Faye," I nodded, meek and quiet. That was right. I had learned how to behave now. Once, I had never cared about being only the adopted daughter. I had thought of myself as the real Harmon daughter, proud and stubborn and willful. But now, after the kidnapping, I finally understood that my life sat in the Harmon family's hands. As long as Grayson did not pay the ransom, my life was worth nothing at all. He frowned, displeased. "How did you let yourself end up like this?" Like this? Like what? Like a crazed beggar. I had run dozens of miles. I had gone days and nights without sleep. Besides the kidnappers, I had also had to watch for wild animals in the hills on the city's edge. When I was thirsty, I drank rainwater. And when I was hungry, I dug through roadside trash along the highway. I think anyone in that situation would go a little mad. I knew he blamed me for showing up before the cameras looking like this, because it made trouble for his company. More precisely, the Harmon family's company. I'm sorry for dirtying your eyes." Hearing me answer that way, he paused, and then a smile tugged at the corner of his mouth. "She was right. You really have learned how to behave." I did not understand what Grayson meant. It was only when the car door shut and the engine started that he suddenly stretched out his long arm and leaned toward me. I flinched back on instinct, curling into the corner. He stopped short, his voice full of distaste. "Faye, you stink." Maybe it was the closed space of the car, but the foul smell on me finally reached him at last, that mixed reek of blood and sweat, of rolling in mud and being ground into piles of garbage until it all fermented. The moment I heard him, I reflexively left the seat, and because the car was not moving smoothly, I dropped to my knees right in the aisle. I'm sorry. I won't dirty the seat. I only need to kneel here, that's all." My knees still had wounds on them, where the kidnappers had jabbed me with thin steel needles. They blamed me too, because to Grayson I meant nothing at all. When they could not get the ransom, they felt their time was being wasted, so they took their anger out on me. I could not stand up, so I simply knelt in that cramped little space. Grayson flew into a temper at once. "What are you doing? Get back in the seat." He ordered it, but he seemed afraid of the dirt and would not help me up, so I could only obey, using every bit of strength to haul myself back onto the seat. The pain, on top of the low blood sugar from those days, wrung the tears right out of me. Grayson usually looked at my tears as if he could not see them, treating them as nothing but a nuisance. But this time, he broke his own rule and tossed me the handkerchief he had used to wipe his hands. I gripped that clean cloth tight. Once, I would have been beside myself with joy. Now the handkerchief only proved how filthy and ruined I was. Caleb watched me in the rearview mirror. I bowed my head. He had probably never seen me look so wretched and so absurd. The car drove back to the Harmon villa, and Grayson ordered someone to take me to the bathroom to wash. I refused the maid's help. I only let them pick out a long, ankle-length dress from my old wardrobe. They searched for a good while and finally pulled out a long-sleeve dress that looked something like a school uniform. No one had ever decided how a student should dress, but looking at myself in the mirror, I really did look more like a student than I had with all my old flashy clothes. Before the kidnapping, I had received an acceptance letter from one of the top design academies abroad, but the enrollment date had passed 3 months ago now. "Thank you," I told the maids. They were startled. They had never imagined the young miss would say thank you to them. But after everything, I understood clearly that my nature and theirs were no different. They were maids the Harmon family had hired, and I was a daughter the Harmon family had hired. I opened the door and stepped out to find Grayson, standing at the top of the stairs, waiting for me. He leaned half his weight against the railing, looked me up and down lazily, and let out a low, mocking laugh. "Faye, what game are you playing now? Dressing like this, how countrified." Grayson assumed it was another one of my childish stunts to catch his attention, but all I wanted was to hide the wounds on my body. I followed him into the dining room. The room was silent until Grayson gestured for me to come forward, and only then did I see Mr. and Mrs. Harmon sitting anxiously at the table. The moment she saw me, Mrs. Harmon nearly threw herself toward me, unsteady on her feet, until a woman beside her gently reached out to support her. "Auntie, don't worry, Miss Ashby has come home whole and unharmed." I recognized the woman. She was Grayson's secretary, Sabrina, her naturally glossy black hair falling loose, dressed in a plain turtleneck sweater and simple jeans, but with a lovely rose gold chain around her neck, whole and unharmed. Next to Mrs. Harmon, whose hair had gone white with worry, Sabrina's words turned me from the victim into the ungrateful daughter of the Harmon family. Mrs. Harmon held my hand and wept while Sabrina soothed her. But I could not cry. I looked at Grayson, and his eyes seemed to say that I was a woman with no conscience. At last Mr. Harmon spoke up, stern. "That's enough, stop pulling at Faye. Let the child sit down and eat." Mrs. Harmon wiped her tears. "It's my fault. It's all my fault. The child has suffered so much she surely wasn't fed properly. Come here, come. Auntie made the fish soup you love best." She pulled me down to sit between herself and Mr. Harmon. Grayson sat across from me, with Sabrina beside him. It looked just like a real family. I stared into the bowl of rice, at the food full of color and fragrance. I had almost forgotten what ordinary food even looked like. I wanted to throw down the chopsticks and shove it into my mouth with my hands. The closer I had gotten to the city center, the stricter the sanitation had become. Until little by little, I could not find any garbage at all, which meant no food, so I had gone nearly 3 days starving, chewing leaves just to hold on. Under everyone's watching eyes, I held myself back, lifted the bowl, and ate one small mouthful of rice at a time. Even so, I still caught Sabrina's mocking look. She ate her own tiny, delicate bites, showing off how refined she was. Watching this, Grayson naturally despised me all the more. But under his adoptive mother's pointed hints, he could not help but pick up a piece of sweet and sour meat and set it on my plate. At first, I had thought that even the plainest congee or the driest steamed bun I once could not stomach, I could now wolf down. But looking at that tempting piece of sweet and sour meat, thinking that Grayson had picked it up with his own hand, my stomach turned. Eat, sweetheart. Grayson knows you have a soft spot for sweet and sour, so he asked for this dish especially. A lie. Grayson had never once known what I liked. It was the other way around. I knew his likes down to the smallest thing. How he loved the color rose gold most of all, for instance. Seeing me hesitate over the food, Mr. Harmon asked, worried, "What's the matter, daughter? Did you and Grayson quarrel on the way home? Don't fret, eat up, and after this I'll set him straight." "Dad," Grayson snapped, probably feeling this made him lose face in front of Sabrina. I said nothing, only shook my head and fought down the wave of nausea, using my chopsticks to lift the piece of sweet and sour meat into my mouth. But the moment I swallowed, I vomited it right back up. Grayson was stunned. I shot up out of my chair at once, clutched my head, and hid in the corner. I'm sorry. I'll eat all of it. Don't hit me." Everyone was aghast. Mrs. Harmon's tears spilled over again, and she wrapped her arms around me. "Did they torture you? Tell Mother, please." Mr. Harmon and Grayson came closer too. Mr. Harmon looked at me with a heartbroken, pitying face, while Grayson only frowned and said nothing, his face going dark. What did that mean? Hadn't the kidnappers already threatened the Harmon family, warning that if the ransom was not paid, they would let their adopted daughter taste real cruelty? So why now? Why ask whether I had been tortured? To be honest, being given a bun to eat or a bowl of scorched rice scraped from a pot was not torture, because after that, everything they fed me was like sewage. It was only that I was too afraid of the feeling that my life hung in Grayson's hands. The kidnappers had bargained with him directly, and he had chosen to abandon me. He hated me that much. I think the nausea came from exactly there. After the meal, I was called into Mr. Harmon's study. Mr. Harmon dropped the strict manner he wore in the business world, and instead, with patience and gentleness, asked me, "Daughter, you've cared for Grayson since you were small. Do you still care for him now?" I shook my head at once, so hard the muscles of my face began to ache. Loving Grayson for 7 years, humbling myself for 7 years, aching for 7 years. And still, I had not known any better. And that was exactly why this time I had gone through a revenge and a torment straight out of hell. I don't dare care for Grayson anymore. Mr. Harmon listened to my answer and sat brooding for a while, then said with regret, "Never mind then, let it go. Even if you don't become the Harmon daughter-in-law, you will always be the Harmon daughter. A daughter as good and as lovely as you, Grayson simply isn't fortunate enough to have." He took a bank card out of the drawer. "This is what your parents left for you. There's 400,000 on it. They asked me to hold on to it until you were grown, and then give it to you as your dowry." During the days of the kidnapping, I too had resented my parents. Why hadn't they taken me with them, so that I would not have to suffer agony like this? It turned out they had left me the means to live well. That was how much they had loved me. I pressed my thumb between my teeth and bit down to keep myself from sobbing out loud. "Thank you, Uncle." By the time I left the study, it was 8 o'clock at night. I was heading toward my own room when I ran into Grayson halfway there. He saw what I meant to do and said, in a voice that was unexpectedly gentle, "Sabrina is staying in your room tonight. You take the guest room next to mine." So it was because of Sabrina. I nodded and started off in the other direction. When I first moved into the Harmon house, Grayson had hated me and made me move to the farthest room, one of us in the east wing, one in the west. But my room had been decorated by the top designer the Harmon family hired, and the guest room could not compare, though in the end, it was still Harmon property. Grayson told me to give up my room, so I gave it up. I had not gone far when Grayson called after me. "Faye, why are you so obedient now?" I turned my head and saw his expression carrying a trace of mockery and something almost like worry. "I'm sorry." Beyond apologizing over and over, I did not know what to say to Grayson. "That's the third time today you've apologized to me. You're very strange." Grayson came closer, bent down, and reached out to touch my forehead. I jerked away as if I had been shocked, grabbing the hallway railing, my legs turning to water so that I could barely stand. Grayson looked at me the way you would look at a mad woman, his face turning impatient. I fought to steady my trembling voice. I'll move out tomorrow. I already told Uncle Harmon." I had thought that hearing this would bring Grayson relief, that he would let me go. Instead, he grew angry. "Move out? Why? I only said Sabrina would stay in your room for tonight. She's a guest. What's the harm in giving up your room to her?" I shook my head quickly. "That's not it." Grayson's face went grim. He came closer, seized my wrist, and pulled me toward the room in the east wing. "Come with me, there's something I want to say." A terror flooded my mind. I stammered, fumbling out the bank card Uncle Harmon had just given me in the study. "I'm sorry, I have money. Don't hit me. I have money. Don't hit me." Grayson turned around, shocked. I had already sunk to the floor, my wrist still clamped in his grip and held up high. "Faye, what are you saying?" By now, I had bitten my lips a bruised purple. Watching Grayson's face come closer and closer, I remembered the kidnapper's insults. The Harmon family's dog, dreaming of clinging to its master, Grayson. "No, President Harmon, I won't cling to you anymore. I don't dare anymore." Grayson finally realized my state of mind was not right. He softened considerably, wrapped an arm around my waist, and lifted me up off the floor. The loss of balance made me instinctively grab onto Grayson's neck. The stern look on his face finally eased a little. "Faye, it isn't that I won't let you cling to me. I just hadn't finished what I was going to say." A door down the hallway suddenly opened. Sabrina poked her head out from my room, the light on inside. She covered her mouth, feigning surprise. "President Harmon, Miss Ashby." Grayson was displeased. "I already gave you the room. What is it now?" With a wounded little air, Sabrina answered that there was a video conference from the branch office overseas that needed President Harmon to attend in person. Grayson looked at me in his arms, and then, reluctantly, set me down. My body went rigid, and I could not speak. "Wait for me in my room." Grayson left that one line behind and walked toward Sabrina. The two of them went into the room and shut the door. The blinding light vanished from the hallway, and I felt as though I had been given my life back. Cold sweat had soaked through the back of my dress. Grayson would not be coming back because I knew Sabrina's tricks. Countless times on my birthdays, at my graduation, he had been called away by Sabrina just like this. Perhaps he truly wanted to go, and truly did not want to come back. And besides, I wanted to leave as soon as I could, to go somewhere I would never have to see Grayson. I was afraid that if I kept being near him, I would lose my mind. I sat blankly on the bed in the guest room until 3 in the morning. There was no sound from Grayson's room next door. In that time, I used the new phone Mrs. Harmon had bought me to log into an app and find an apartment for rent with good security. As the sky was just beginning to lighten, the Harmon house lay silent. I carried my heels in my hand and walked out barefoot. As I stepped outside, I suddenly saw someone leaning against Grayson's car, playing with a phone. My stomach dropped. I was afraid it was Grayson. The person heard the noise and turned to look at me. I recognized him. It was Caleb. I pretended nothing was wrong and walked past him, out toward the road to catch a taxi. But he came after me. "Miss Ashby, Mr. Harmon knows you're—" "Can you not tell Grayson?" "No." I fought to hold back the surge inside me. So close. Just a little more and I could have gotten away. Why did I have to run into him? Caleb seemed not to understand. Mr. Harmon will worry. I forced myself to shake my head and started to take off my coat. Caleb hurriedly stepped back and turned his face away, his ears going red. Miss Ashby, what are you doing? I did not care. If I could survive, what did dignity mean anymore? That thing had been ground to nothing by Grayson long ago. He would not worry about me. These wounds were the ones he had ordered the kidnappers to leave on my body. Caleb looked at me. Beneath the coat, I wore a white tank top, and you could clearly see the welts, red and purple, the green bruises, and the few scabbing scars along my arms. He could hardly believe these terrifying wounds. They were beyond anything he had imagined. I seized the moment while he was still stunned and quickly pulled my coat back on, pleading, "Caleb, please, let me go. If you don't, I'll die." It was the first time I had ever called him by name. Before, I had always called him Grayson's dog, the same way the kidnappers had called me. Caleb was silent for a long time. I bolted toward the road to hail a cab. Suddenly, a large hand pulled me back, and then, feeling the wound under my sleeve, that hand shrank away. I nearly burst into tears. "Don't—" I saw Caleb grit his teeth, his voice firm. "You won't catch a taxi at this hour. I'll take you." My feelings were a tangle as I climbed once again into Grayson's car. "I'll turn off the dash cam just in case. Bear with it a little, we'll be there soon." He thought I did not want to ride in Grayson's car. In truth, that was exactly right. But as long as I could escape Grayson, escape the Harmon family, what was a little discomfort like this? The car reached the apartment complex I had arranged. I texted the agent to say I wanted to move in right away. To make his sale, he brought the contract and the keys to the front gate first thing in the morning, greeting me with a smile. Caleb, uneasy, followed me up to look at the place. It was a loft, fully furnished, small but complete. 1,200 square feet. This is the largest unit in our building, Miss Ashby. Whether you're living alone or with a boyfriend, you'll be comfortable. I looked at Caleb. He said nothing, only bent his head to read the contract, then asked about the electricity, water, and air conditioning. There were no problems, so he handed it to me. For some reason, I trusted him completely. Maybe it was because every time he had dragged me out of Grayson's office and I had kicked and hit him, he had never taken it to heart. Or maybe it was because, on Grayson's orders, he had once come looking for me in a bar and driven off the men who wanted to put their hands on me. Without thinking it over, I quickly signed the contract and handed my bank card to the agent. He ran the card and left, pleased. In the bare apartment, only Caleb and I were left. He suddenly turned awkward. "Miss Ashby, I have to go back now." I nodded and meant to write out a note thanking him. An old habit of mine, but only then did I realize my pockets were empty. That was right. I had left with nothing but my 2 bare hands. I had meant to bring along a few changes of underclothes, but I never expected that even my own room had been taken from me, let alone paper. "Caleb, how can I thank you?" He looked surprised. "There's no need to thank me." I said nothing more. Even if one day he needed my thanks, I would not refuse him. Caleb left. He still had to get back to work. Before going, he said, "Get some good rest." Of course I would rest. The thought even rose in my mind. At last, I can rest. For all those dozens of miles, I had slept in a roadside greenhouse, slept on low tree branches. I called it sleeping, but really my mind had stayed taut and on guard the whole time. Wary of the ones who might come to seize me, wary of the wild animals out in the open country. Even back at the Harmon house, I had never stopped waiting for a chance to escape. So sitting on the soft bed of the loft, I kept pinching my own thigh to stay awake. I took off my shoes, went up to the bedroom, and found only a bare mattress on the bed frame. I had not had time to buy household things yet, of course, But luckily this loft had blackout curtains. I drew them shut, fell onto the bed, and dropped into sleep. When I woke again, I heard a banging on the door, rap after rap ringing through the whole apartment and echoing down the hallway too. But I had slept too long. I sat up on the bed without moving my limbs, as though I had forgotten how to make them work again. It was only when I heard the lock drop to the floor with a clatter that I snapped awake. Who was it? The kidnappers or Grayson? I quickly searched the room for something I could use to defend myself, but realized there was nothing. So I got up and headed downstairs. And because I was so panicked, when I was 1 or 2 steps from the bottom, I slipped and fell. "Faye," a clear voice rang out. I lifted my head and saw Caleb standing in my doorway, holding a bag of things, breathing hard, his face full of worry. He rushed over to help me up. "Are you all right?" I was still dazed, not understanding what was happening. Out at the door, a locksmith had finished replacing the lock cylinder and was gathering his tools back into his bag. "Oh, young lady, your boyfriend knocked twice and you didn't open the door. He was worried sick." I rubbed my head, groggy. It seemed that in my sleep I truly had not heard him. The locksmith went on. "I hear you've got depression. Your boyfriend was afraid you'd hurt yourself, standing out here worried out of his mind. Listen to me. A pretty girl like you can do anything she wants. Don't let dark thoughts get the better of you." I looked at Caleb. He seemed flustered, let go of me, and stepped toward the locksmith. "Please, sir, don't say any more. I'm not her boyfriend. How much do I owe you for the lock?" The locksmith took his money with a knowing look, picked up his tool bag, and before he left added, "Young lady, this young man seems like a good one to me. Give him a chance." Caleb shut the door with a bang and did not dare look at me. "I'm sorry. I was afraid something had happened to you inside, so I called the locksmith." I said nothing. I knew Caleb was a plain-spoken man, everything showing on his face. He must have truly been worried just now, which was why the locksmith had gotten the wrong idea. Why wouldn't he? I had only been sleeping. In truth, Caleb had no reason to worry like that. If I were not someone who prized her own life, I could never have crawled back here out of hell. I licked my cracked, dry lips. Seeing this, Caleb quickly pulled a bottle of milk from the bag he had tossed on the floor, twisted off the cap, and handed it to me. I took it and drank it in small sips. The milk was cool, as if it had just come out of a refrigerator. He seemed to know that I had only ever liked cold milk. Caleb looked around the whole apartment, and then his eyes settled on me, and he saw that I was still wearing the same long dress, only now it was a little wrinkled. Puzzled, he asked, "How long did you sleep?" I thought about it. "A little more than 2 hours." Hadn't he said he had knocked for 2 hours? Caleb's eyes turned strange. He said, "Think carefully. Since you signed the contract, 2 days have already passed." 2 days? I was astonished. Caleb was dressed in ordinary clothes now, but I remembered clearly that this morning he had still been in a suit. So it turned out I had gone 2 days and 2 nights without eating, without drinking, sleeping straight through. Caleb understood. He ran his hand across the table, and sure enough, there was a thin film of dust on it. From the moment I moved in, I had never once cleaned this loft. He pulled off his black coat and tossed it onto a chair, and a fine layer of dust puffed up at once. "Sit here." I did not know what he meant to do, so I went over and sat down on his coat. He rolled up his sleeves and went into the bathroom, and after a stretch of running water and clatter, Caleb came out with a wet cloth and began wiping down the dining table, then the coffee table, then the wardrobe. "Rest a bit. Once I've finished cleaning, I'll take you out to eat." Take me out to eat? I was surprised, and surprised too at the sight of him doing housework. Caleb was Grayson's bodyguard, a man who settled things with his fists, and yet he did household chores this carefully. About an hour later, Caleb finished mopping the floor and went into the bathroom to wash his face, then stepped back out. "Did you wait long?" His hair was wet, drops of water sliding off the ends, and across that rough, rugged face, a natural smile spread. I stared blankly, nodded, then shook my head. He laughed out loud and stepped closer, meaning to ruffle my hair, but then he seemed to remember something and drew his hand back. "Let's go." I stood up. He picked up his coat. "Let's go get some of those sweet southern dishes. I've heard the young women all say they're delicious." Those young women were probably staff at Grayson's company, the ones Caleb sometimes spoke with. Had he really gone out of his way to ask them about restaurants? Hearing him say it, I realized I was hungry too. After all, I had slept 2 days and 2 nights, and back at the Harmon house, I had not eaten my fill either, and had thrown up on top of that. I had barely taken 2 steps when a sudden cramp seized my stomach. I rushed into the bathroom, hugged the toilet, and heaved. There was nothing in my stomach to bring up, only a mouthful of brown blood. Seeing this, Caleb followed me in and caught me by the shoulders. I was so thin and weak that he could almost lift me off the ground. "Faye." He helped me to the sink and got water so I could rinse my mouth. He asked me gravely, "Since you came back, have you gone to a hospital and gotten checked?" I shook my head. At once, he crouched down, took me onto his back, grabbed the keys, and carried me downstairs. I hurt so badly I could not get out a word. In the taxi, he used practiced hands to press hard on the pressure point at my thumb, helping to ease the pain in my stomach. "Driver, faster, please." Caleb pressed the man. The driver looked at me in the rearview mirror and silently sped up. Through the whole examination at the hospital, I drifted in a haze until my stomach had been pumped. Caleb came into my room carrying the results. He sat down beside the bed and read the chart with his brow furrowed. The hospital chair seemed too low for him, and his long legs had to splay apart, his knees riding high. "Do you want to be admitted?" he asked me. "What did the doctor say?" "The doctor says there's no need." "Then I don't want to. I don't want to be in a place with that many people. There's no sense of safety." Caleb was quiet for a while. "All right, but from now on we'll have to come to the hospital every day to change the dressings and get you checked." I could feel that some of the wounds on my body had already been treated. "For a while, you can only have congee and liquid food." He did not need to say it. I could guess it myself. 3 months of moldy buns and cold scraped-together rice, starving one day and stuffed the next. My stomach had surely been wrecked. "But I'm so hungry right now." Caleb's eyes filled with pity, because he had heard the doctor describe what I had been eating. Those things had stayed lodged in my stomach, undigested, impossible to bring up, which was why it had needed to be pumped. He laid his hand gently on my forehead, as if to comfort me. "Give me 3 days. I'll cook you congee so good you won't believe it. Can you trust me?" Caleb was a man who did what he said. He was a wonderful cook. Even the simplest congee he could make a dozen different ways, and thanks to him I felt my body recover a great deal over that stretch of time. But just as I was scooping my 3rd bowl of cashew congee at lunch today, Caleb stopped me. His eyes crinkled nearly shut with laughter. "While I'm busy juicing the fruit, the greedy little kitten sneaks off for more?" Seeing my plan foiled, I put the bowl in the sink, glum. He set down the fruit he had been cutting and came over to me. "Let me wash the dishes. You go watch TV on the sofa." I nodded, without much interest. Then he suddenly pulled me back, and I was caught between the sink and his body. "Won't let you have your congee, and now you won't pay me any mind?" I said nothing, only pouted and looked off to the side. He gave a short laugh. "The doctor said that starting tomorrow you can eat regular food. I'll take you to get those sweet southern dishes." My eyes lit up. "Really? Really?" Caleb's whole face was doting. He let me go, patted my back, and shooed me off to the sofa while he busied himself in the kitchen. I sat on the sofa and took out the bank card my parents had left me. Beyond being enough money to settle down and build a life, it was a keepsake, and I suddenly felt protected. Their love had never left me. Even before they met with disaster, they had still been planning for the life I would live afterward. Caleb was like a gift they had given me. I tucked the card away, thinking that since it was my dowry, I had to keep it carefully. On the television, the news was playing, and after a musical interlude, I suddenly saw a headline that stung my eyes. Young Miss of the Harmon Group kidnapped. Walked barefoot back to the city, wild-eyed and frenzied, no longer the poised figure of before. I clicked the TV off with a huff, panting, telling myself that it was all over. I would never see those people again. I would never see Grayson again. After I had calmed down for a long while, my heart finally settled back into its steady beat. Just then, the doorbell rang. I figured it was probably another delivery Caleb had ordered. After all, from the moment I moved in, the entire loft had been designed and arranged by him. Without thinking much of it, I got up and went to open the door. But there, at the door, stood the very person I did not want to see. Sabrina, carrying several bags of fruit. The moment she saw me, she smiled radiantly. "Miss Ashby, I heard you've been in the hospital lately, so I came specially to visit you." I asked coldly, "How did you find out?" Sabrina thought for a moment, then put on an innocent face. "President Harmon told me, of course." My heart pounded like a drum. How did Grayson know? Was he watching me? If Sabrina knew where I lived, then didn't that mean he knew too? Did he want to find me? "Get out." I forced the words out and moved to shut the door, but Sabrina blocked it. After being cursed at, she finally dropped the pretense, her eyes turning vicious. "Faye, President Harmon already knows your address. You'd best hurry up and move. Stop shamelessly clinging to him." "I'm not." Sabrina let out a scoff. "You're not? Those kidnappers beat you badly, didn't they? I heard there were sticks and whips and the curling iron in your bag that day, heated up and pressed to your skin. That must have hurt. And the slop they fed you, worse than pig feed, food a dog wouldn't touch, and yet you ate every bit of it." My pupils shrank violently, and I could barely stay on my feet. The things I most did not want to remember, Sabrina was tearing wide open. How do you know?" Sabrina was full of triumph. "I'm the one who suggested to President Harmon that he pay the ransom late, to let you taste some suffering. Who told you to be an arrogant little miss who didn't know her place, clinging to him? So I dropped a hint to the kidnappers. The more cruelly they beat you, the faster the money would come. I nearly broke apart on the spot. Why? On what grounds could she do that? On what grounds could Grayson?" Inside my head, the last thread of reason snapped. Like a lunatic, I grabbed hold of Sabrina. I wanted to bite her. I wanted to roll down the stairs with her and die together. Caleb, hearing the commotion, came running to the door. "Faye!" I could not hear a single sound. I had only one thought, and it was to kill Sabrina. Caleb forced us apart and pulled me into his arms while I sobbed without stopping. He shoved Sabrina hard as she tried to lunge again, without a shred of hesitation. Sabrina slammed into the stair railing with a thud and hurt herself badly, unable to get back up. "What are you two doing?" A stern voice cut across us. Grayson, still in his neat pressed suit, appeared with an unhurried calm, the complete opposite of my wretchedness. How pitiful I was. Grayson came up, and when he saw me collapsed in Caleb's arms, his face went darker still. He turned to help Sabrina to her feet. "President Harmon, I came here with good intentions, to visit Miss Ashby." Who would have thought she'd be so ungrateful, throwing herself at me? "It's probably because I found out she's living with your assistant, Caleb." "Living together." Grayson flew into a rage. Caleb said nothing, only held me tightly and patted my shoulder over and over. When he saw me calm down a little, he moved to take me into the room, but Grayson blocked him. "Faye, stop making a scene. Come home with me." His tone was pure command. Grayson still thought I was making a scene. He tried to pull me out of Caleb's arms, but Caleb pushed him off. "Mr. Harmon, this is Faye's home." He called me by name, warm and familiar. "Is this why you did what you did before?" I lifted my head, but as the two of them wrestled, all I could see was the sharp angle of his jaw. Just then, Sabrina suddenly cried out in pain. "President Harmon, it hurts so much." Grayson looked at me, then looked at Sabrina, and in the end he turned, gathered Sabrina up in his arms, and as he left, he threw back one line. "Faye, I'm giving you one more chance. If you don't come home this time, then never come back again." I was trembling with fear. Caleb said softly against my ear, "Don't be afraid. I'm here." After the scene Sabrina had caused, I made up my mind to move. At first, all I had wanted was for Grayson to be unable to find me, but it turned out every move I made stayed under his eye. Caleb always indulged me, but at that moment, he had not yet found a suitable place. "Or come stay at my place first. Grayson already knows this address." Caleb was afraid Grayson would come looking for me while he was away from home. "Your place?" I asked. Caleb still blushed easily, but he had made progress. At least now he dared to look me straight in the eye. Don't read too much into it. My place has 2 bedrooms, so there's plenty of room." "But we can't stay in 2 separate bedrooms forever. It's 2 bedrooms at my place, 2 bedrooms at yours. When do we get to live together the way Sabrina said?" Caleb's eyes went a little wide, as if I had said something outrageous. My face did not flush, and my heart did not race. Teasing him had become a skill of mine. "Caleb?" I pulled out the bank card my parents had left me and said to him seriously, "Caleb, you know I'm the Harmon family's adopted daughter, a toy they could throw away at any moment. But I have a sincere heart too. Most of it is no longer whole, but there's still a little clean part left. One wonder if you'd be willing to take it." Caleb's eyes reddened, and he said carefully, "Faye, your heart has always been clean. Even a little of it, I treasure it very much." Moved, I held him for a while, and only afterward did I remember to press the bank card into his hand. My dowry. Caleb went a bit flustered. Even though I called it a dowry, it was as if I were the one bringing him a betrothal gift. He laughed out loud. "Good girl, put it away. A dowry belongs in your own hands." "Oh, so a dowry belongs in your own hands." Caleb pulled me back into his arms and murmured against my ear, "A dowry is still a dowry, but from now on the money in our home is yours too." I liked the sound of that word, our home. It was a good thing there was not much to move. Caleb spent the whole day packing, and we had our move done. His home was just as I had pictured it, clean and tidy. I stood in the doorway of Caleb's bedroom, looking in. The scent of citrus drifted in through a window that stood half open, a soft, pleasant fragrance. "What are you standing there for? Come in." Caleb patted my head lightly from behind. I hopped happily onto the bed. It was so soft and comfortable. Caleb lay down beside me. "It's been a busy day, and I'm a little tired. Let's sleep." I burrowed into the soft pillow, took hold of Caleb's slightly rough hand, and sank into sleep. When I woke, night had already fallen. The bedside lamp was on, casting a faint light, and Caleb was still at his laptop working on something. Seeing me wake, he quickly closed the laptop, pulled out a flash drive, and took a bowl of white fungus soup from the nightstand, still warm. After the soup, I drifted off to sleep again. The next morning, I woke to find Caleb gone from beside the bed. For 3 days in a row, I followed the menu Caleb had taped to the refrigerator, taking out the 3 meals he had prepared in advance and eating them without tasting anything at all. I missed Caleb, but I did not know where he had gone. There was not a single missed call on my phone. Instead, it was full of calls I had rejected, familiar numbers I once had known by heart. I meant to go out and look for him, even thought about going to the police to file a report. But the police had not even been able to find the men who kidnapped me. Could I really trust them? In a daze, I stepped out of the house, and as I reached the corner of the street, someone suddenly dragged me into a car. When I came to, I found myself lying on a bed in my own room. To be precise, a room in the Harmon house. The room was dark, and moonlight came through the window. I saw a figure sitting in the shadows, staring straight at me. Frightened, I burrowed under the covers. The person hurriedly switched on a light and came to soothe me. "Faye, I wanted you to sleep well. I'm sorry I frightened you." The voice was ghostly. Hesitant, I pulled the covers down. My whole body went cold. President Harmon." Grayson tugged the covers down, his face carrying a trace of hurt. "Faye, didn't you used to love calling me Grayson?" I shook my head, only hoping he would keep his distance. My chest felt pressed flat against the bed. "I don't dare anymore. I don't dare disturb President Harmon anymore." Day and night, day and night. This was the only line I could hold on to. A line that might spare me a few of the beatings. Grayson seemed shaken too. His eyes reddened, and he fought to keep himself in check. "Faye, I'm sorry. I didn't know that being a few days late with the ransom would bring you that. They clearly promised me they wouldn't do it." Wouldn't do what? Wouldn't beat me? He plainly could have saved me. The things I did not want to remember, someone always forced me to relive, again and again. Grayson seemed to already know what I had been through, but I only wanted to know where Caleb had gone. "Do you know where Caleb is?" Grayson gripped my wrist, his voice hard and yet somehow pleading. "Faye, forget about him. Let's start over. Can we?" Hearing that, I lost all control of myself, springing up and shoving him away. In the dim light of the room, I struck my back against the corner of the table. "Faye." I knelt down, just like the day he had come to fetch me and I had been in his car. "President Harmon, give Caleb back to me. He's all I have. Please, please." Grayson tried to take me in his arms. "Faye, your knees are hurt. Stand up and talk. Stand up and then talk. All right?" I dodged away from his hands, resisting like a wild thing. "He's all I have, Grayson. Don't you want me dead? Don't touch him or I'll die, I'll die." Grayson broke down, shaking his head in grief. "Faye, I never. How could I ever let you die?" With a crash, I smashed the vase on the table, snatched up a shard and pressed it to my throat. "Where exactly is Caleb?" Grayson looked at me in despair. "Faye, I truly don't know. Don't do this. Don't hurt yourself." I froze, and something came clear to me. So that was it. He did not believe I would really die. "Doctor!" Grayson shouted. Doctors and bodyguards burst in at the same moment. I was held down fast. Grayson seized the chance to take the sharp piece of porcelain from my hand. A sedative was injected into me, and at once I lost all my strength and all my feeling. The private doctors busied themselves bandaging Grayson's hand, which the shard had cut. "I'm fine. Go see to Faye." Mr. Harmon was frantic with worry. "Don't worry, sir. Miss Ashby only scratched herself. It's a minor wound. We've bandaged it. It's just that her mental state has been badly damaged, and she'll need proper treatment." "I understand. Thank you." After all the commotion, only Grayson and I were left in the room. I lay on the bed staring at the ceiling, hollow, my awareness seeming to float somewhere outside my body. Seeing me like that, Grayson nearly choked on his words. "Faye, please, give me a chance to make amends. I'll make it all up to you." The sedative seemed to work well. My heart lay flat and calm, and the terrifying memories could come back. Make amends. Right, make amends. How to make amends? Let me think. Grayson looked as if he had seen hope and gripped my hand in agitation. I was held for 3 months, I said. At first, they thought I was worth a great deal, and they even treated me well. They only threatened me every day, saying that if there was no money, they'd leave my body out in the wilds. Right around then, every day they'd throw me half a plain white bun. I couldn't eat it, but before long, there wasn't even a white bun to have anymore. Then they called you and told me to beg pitifully into the phone. What was it you said? You said something ugly. You said, if she has business, she can find my secretary. You'd barely hung up before one of them kicked me in the stomach and sent me in the chair rolling to the ground. Little by little, they stopped holding back. They realized that beating a young miss like me, so what? No one cared anyway. So every day they beat me, and anytime something displeased them, they took it out on me. I saw Grayson's body begin to tremble. That already too much for you? Then what came next? Later, when they still couldn't get the money, they lost their patience. Whips, steel needles, sticks, and the curling iron I'd had in my bag that day. They plugged it in and pressed it against me. You could smell the flesh burning. With every sentence, Grayson broke down further. He could hardly bear to look at me, and yet he seemed afraid that if he looked away, I would vanish, torn between the two, in agony. But I did not care. Why should I have to put on some pitiful act? Faye, why didn't you wait for me to come get you? If you told me, I would surely have killed them all. I tilted my head and gave a smile that was not quite a smile. The ransom hadn't come, and they said they were going to kill me. Do you know, at that point, I even thought, at last, I'll be set free. I could even see my parents' faces, waiting for me on the other side. But they told me to live well. I don't know where I found the strength to escape. First there was a forest, then fields, then the highway. I slept under eaves, up in trees. I ate leaves and drank rainwater. If I was lucky enough to find some trash, I'd eat the same things those men used to give me, spoiled, rotten food. And so I walked, days and nights, dozens of miles, all the way back to stand in front of you. And you said one thing to me. So filthy, haha. Grayson could not take it anymore. He sank to his knees on the floor, his eyes red, looking at me with total despair. Faye, I'm sorry. I didn't know. I didn't know about the ransom. I didn't know how you came back. Grayson, could you and Sabrina go through everything I went through? You can't make it up to me, but I forgive you. Really? Grayson could hardly believe it and reached out with a trembling hand to take mine. Really? As long as you give Caleb back to me. That night, Grayson stood by my bed for a long, long time, his eyes deep and full of pain. He still said that he did not know where Caleb was. I did not want to speak to him anymore. It was not until his phone rang that he pulled the covers up over me and quietly left, his shoulders slumped and low. I stayed on in the Harmon house, unable to go out. Every day a psychologist came to my room to treat me, a beautiful older woman. She never pressed me to talk about the past. Each day she only told me interesting little stories, and over time I began to trust her. I opened up to her on my own and asked whether she had someone she loved. She said yes, and showed me the diamond ring on her hand, saying happily that they would be married soon. I congratulated her and told her about Caleb and me, and she was delighted to hear it. That night I sat by the bed and gazed at the moon for a long while. Without thinking, I wanted to check whether Caleb had gotten in touch with me, and only then remembered that my phone had been confiscated long ago. So all I could do was look at the moon. I looked, and then I opened the window and jumped. The smell of hospital disinfectant was hard to bear. I woke with a pounding head and a body that felt as though it would fall apart. The sound of an argument outside my ward grew louder and louder, drifting into my ears. No wonder the child came back and still won't be close to us. She must think we abandoned her. Grayson, How did I ever raise a son like you? How am I supposed to explain this to your uncle? To the Ashby side of the family? Even her own parents never expected any of this. I only wanted her to be a little more obedient. Smack. The sound of a slap, followed by a few low groans from Grayson. I thought Mr. Harmon had struck him again, but it turned out otherwise, because then I heard Mrs. Harmon's cry. "Assistant Caleb! Caleb Brooks!" I wanted to get out of bed, and instead I fell to the floor. Ah, so my leg was broken. The room at the Harmon house had only 2 floors. Jumping from that height truly could not kill you. Hearing the noise, Caleb rushed in, his face weathered and rough, stubble grown out on his jaw as if he had not shaved in days. "Caleb." I grabbed the apple beside the bed and threw it at him. Caleb was hit square, but his eyes were full of worry and strain. He hurried over, took me in his arms, and set me back on the bed. Mrs. Harmon called for the doctor. The doctor gave me a quick examination. For the next half-month, the patient must not get out of bed carelessly. Her knee already had wounds that can't fully heal. If she keeps moving recklessly, she won't be able to keep the leg. The doctor was clearly a little angry. Caleb apologized at once and promised there would be no next time. The doctor looked at the people crowded around me with a strange expression, then said to me, "If you ever need help or need legal assistance, come find me." With that, he went off to check the other beds. It was understandable. With the wounds on my body, people were bound to think things. Caleb held me close, all of him rough and travel-worn. I pushed him away. Then Mrs. Harmon put her arms around me, and this time I did not dare push her off. "My good daughter, you've suffered so. It's all my fault. I raised you badly." I comforted her. "It's all right, Auntie. It's all over now." Grayson stood silent in the corner of the ward, thick with guilt. He probably had not imagined I would jump from my own room. "Kneel and apologize to Faye." Mr. Harmon gave the order, and Grayson obediently stepped forward. I looked to Caleb for rescue, and Caleb pulled him back to his feet. "Faye can't bear it." "That's right," I said. "Uncle Harmon. The Harmon family has raised me all these years. Let this be me repaying that." Hearing this, Mrs. Harmon cried harder. "Daughter, do you want to cut all ties with us?" I shook my head. "Not with the 2 of you. Only with Grayson. Uncle Harmon. In the past, I was ignorant and I caused you both no end of trouble. My parents died when I was young, and I thank the 2 of you for raising me. In my heart, you are like my real parents." Mr. Harmon could not hold back his tears either. He came over and patted my hand. "It's the Harmon family that has wronged you." After a few more words, the Harmon parents left, telling me to rest and recover well and promising to visit again the next day. Grayson lingered at the door and would not leave. "Faye, we really can never go back to how it was, can we?" Hearing this, Caleb wanted to charge over and hit him, but I held him back. 7 years was too bitter, Grayson? How many 7-year stretches does a person get in a life? After I was discharged, Caleb took me to the police station, and with his help, every one of the men who kidnapped me was arrested. There, I overheard 2 officers talking. "I heard Captain Brooks left the army and went to work as a bodyguard for a rich family. Why's he back to the old line of work?" "You haven't heard? Captain Brooks caught the eye of some rich young miss, and then the young miss got herself kidnapped. Captain Brooks couldn't just stand by. He acted out of love, an insider all along." I sat out in the hallway eating the mung bean cakes Caleb had bought me, listening to the rumors about myself. "Little sister, why are you sitting out here alone? Where's your family?" I pointed inside. Caleb came out with a face like a storm cloud, and the 2 officers snapped to attention. "Captain Brooks, you 2 quit spreading nonsense all day." Caleb pulled me up out of the chair, and the 2 officers stared wide-eyed as the little sister turned into the captain's wife. "Why wouldn't we spread it? I think it's a fine story to hear." After Caleb left the army, taking part in this case counted as a brave act of citizenship, and once the paperwork was done, he even received a commendation. He was a bit sheepish about it. There was some personal interest mixed in, after all. What is there to be shy about? You did this. It's gotta go into our family's record book. Caleb held the umbrella over me. We bought vegetables and headed home. Your Ashby family has a record book? We do. Then all right, I absolutely have to write your deed into it. Otherwise tonight I'll burn incense and tell my uncle. Writing him a letter would take too long. After Caleb drove us back, he spent a long while soothing me. I learned that when the police had called him away suddenly on assignment, he had not been able to wake me and had only thrown on his clothes and dashed out. I still felt shaken by it. He said it was lucky the fridge had a week's worth of food and that after a week he would have been home. But he never imagined I would go out searching for him and get taken back to the Harmon house by Grayson first. Before dinner, I lay on the sofa, rolling a little smooth egg in one hand, while I looked something up on my phone with the other. In the kitchen, Caleb chopped vegetables and talked to me in a loud voice. Sabrina's been arrested. The court has already filed charges against her. Grayson's under suspicion for attempted murder. He may be detained for questioning too. When it comes to that, you'll write a reconciliation letter. At some point, the sound of chopping in the kitchen stopped. Caleb came up behind me and suddenly wrapped his arms around me. You'll write a reconciliation letter for him? Why not reconcile with me first? I shot him a look and Caleb's face fell. Sorry. I checked the calendar. Tomorrow is a lucky day. Caleb found the slippers I had forgotten in the bedroom, brought them over, and slid them onto my feet. Good for a wedding? I gave him a little kick. What do you mean, Tomorrow bring your ID and come with me to the county clerk's office. Caleb suddenly shot up straight, joyful as a puppy, wrapping me up tight in his arms and nuzzling against me. I knew it. I knew you were the best to me. On the day we got our marriage license, I made a point of bringing the news to the Harmon parents. That evening, Caleb and I brought the reconciliation letter to the Harmon house for dinner. At this point, I still could only eat a little bit of solid food, and Caleb, feeling that he now had a proper rightful claim, watched over me even more strictly. Mrs. Harmon held my hand and asked, smiling, when we would hold the wedding, and told me to let her know ahead of time so she could start preparing early. Mr. Harmon brought out a pair of jade good fortune pendants, and one look told you they were very valuable. What are these pendants? I had them made when you were 18, just waiting for this day. I took them. Thank you, Uncle Harmon. Grayson did not appear the whole evening. As we were leaving the Harmon house, I suddenly felt someone watching me from behind. I turned my head, but there was no one there. What's wrong? Caleb asked. Nothing. Grayson stood in the shadows, holding a picture frame, close to tears. Inside was a photograph of him in his younger days, together with a girl, a bright fae, a proud fae, a fae whose eyes had been filled with him. That version of her would never come back to him again. Thank you all for listening.